Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to our weekly virtual chai chat. I'm very excited today because we have a very interesting speaker, Andrea Salzman. Hi, Andrea.
Hi, Gulshan. Hi, everybody.
So I'm going to tell a couple of words to everyone about you so that people know who you are. I'm sure some of you have seen Andrea, have met Andrea before because she's done several chai chats, in-person chai chat at the embassy. And now we're so excited that we can do a chai chat with her virtually. So Andrea is originally from Transylvania, Romania, ethnic Hungarian. She taught English as a foreign language in her home country. And married to an American diplomat, she followed the foreign service lifestyle for almost 2 decades. Besides living in the US, she lived in Jamaica, Poland, Ukraine, Tajikistan, and now in Uzbekistan. She has 2 kids. She's an artist. She paints contemporary abstract style paintings. And Andrea is passionate about art, history, dancing, and traveling. Andrea, it's a great pleasure to have you here today. Thanks so much for taking the time to do this chai chat.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And hi, everybody. I'm very excited to talk about New Mexico, actually. And in particular, you will see what is going to be the main topic of my chai chat subject tonight. So I don't know if you know anything about New Mexico, but from my side, it's just a part of my heart, and actually officially is part of the southwestern region of the US. And as you see it on the screen, it borders Arizona, Utah, Colorado, and Texas. So when we talk about Southwest, these are the countries. I wouldn't call Texas part of Southwest, but all the other states, especially New Mexico, definitely part of the enchanted Southwest. And for that reason, because of its beauty, it's also called New Mexico, the state of New Mexico is called Land of Enchantment. So I have a question. So think about what comes to your mind when you hear New Mexico. What kind of foods, maybe, regions, historical events, weird stuff, which I might just mention briefly. I will just mention briefly later. And so just text me. What comes to your mind when you hear New Mexico. And meanwhile, I'm just going to talk briefly about New Mexico as a state, and I will be waiting for your answers. I'm not tech savvy, so bear with me. And it's my husband's laptop. So New Mexico is, as you can see it on the map, it's a fairly large state, and it became a state, precisely the 47th state in 1912, in January of 1912, after being part of the Spanish Empire from 1598 until 1821, when Mexico took over. And in 1853, the US took over. And as I mentioned, in 1912, finally became a state. And I don't want to go too deep into numbers, but I would like to just mention the population. Considering the huge land, its population is fairly small. It's only 2 million inhabitants. There are very few villages, and most of the people live actually in the urbanized area. which is the most urbanized areas are around Santa Fe and Albuquerque, because these are the two big cities. And actually the biggest city is Albuquerque. And even though it's the biggest city, it's not the capital, but Santa Fe is the capital of the state. And something very special about Santa Fe, besides its artifact and being a center for arts, it's also the capital in the US that is one of the oldest capitals, that it has been inhabited for many, many centuries, and it is at the highest elevation. So I cannot quote you exactly, but it's like around 10,000 feet. And definitely I don't know in kilometers, I mean in meters. I will look it up. So, and as I said, I don't want to spend too much time talking about numbers, because I prefer to talk more about its beauty, especially the mountains. So what's wonderful about New Mexico, it has just, from the plain rose-colored desert, it also has, in the south, it also has mountains in the north. So the south has these two very unique locations, and they are called, one is called a magnificent cave, and it's called Carlsbad Cavern. And it gives place to millions of bats. And there is the other place is White Sands, which is an absolutely gorgeous and immense field of white sand that was actually developed by the wind and just the desert, the arid temperature. So I lived in the mountains. The mountains are, as I said, in the northern parts. And you have, from going from south, from the desert, you get the broken mesas, which are these ones in the picture. And mesa means in Spanish tabletop, table, because erosion, wind, and water, but mostly wind, it just made it, just look, it made the mountains look just like tabletops. But you also have much higher elevations. At much higher elevations, you have snow-capped mountains. So see the mesas there too. And also I have to mention the most beautiful sky you can find in New Mexico. The air is very dry, so the sky is just absolutely blue, fantastic blue, and you can see as far as you wish. It's like really far. I'm trying to find, I wanted to put this in order, but it looks like I didn't. Sorry, going back to the white sands that I was mentioning that. So it's naturally formed white sand by the wind. And then it also has these amazing cliffs, also the mastered by the wind. And then you have the snow-capped mountains, which actually make it able to have ski resorts and ski slopes. Something very important about New Mexico is also related to Albuquerque, and precisely Albuquerque Balloon Fiesta. This happens in October because the weather is just perfect, very cool in the morning, and they start like at 5 a.m. in the morning, very early. And so this way the balloons can rise easily, and the day becomes warmer, but by then all those gorgeous and very funny looking balloons just float in the air all over the city. And as you can see, there is the sign on the first yellow balloon, air balloon. There is that kind of looks like a sun, right? Well, that is it's called Zia, and that is the symbol for New Mexico. Each state has its own symbol. So Zia, the red sunshine image, is New Mexico's logo. And I have to go back. Something very important about New Mexico is also the pottery, and it's very unique. And on another occasion, I will be talking more about this. And the animal of the state is the roadrunner, which you might know from cartoons. I don't remember the name in English for the roadrunner and the coyote, but it was very funny when I watched it as a kid. And the plant, the New Mexican plant, is the yucca flower, which I saw many of these here in Uzbekistan, which was quite fun. Actually, I have one in my yard, so something in common. And I wouldn't say that only this plant is in common with New Mexico and Uzbekistan, because the mountains, I hiked in the mountains here, and I have to tell you that the Uzbek mountains remind me very much of the high mountains in New Mexico, which actually was very, very pleasing to me. So if you have any text about what reminds you of when you hear New Mexico, is it any food maybe? Is it any word, any sight?
Andrea, if I can chime in, we got some people who answered. Davron Akramov is saying that he's thinking about Mexican food.
New Mexico food. New Mexico food. And actually, I have to make a difference between Mexican food and New Mexican food. And the main reason for that, New Mexican food is much, much spicier. So if ever happens to go to New Mexico, be prepared if you ask for local food for very spicy, but very delicious, just as delicious. And you might end up in New Mexico, especially Santa Fe, because they do have lots of art fairs. It's one of the main centers for art. And actually, I do know that Uzbek artists do get invited to take part in art fairs in New Mexico. So if you feel like you are an artist or you know an artist, just look into it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So about the food, yes. So New Mexico.
And again, we have a comment from Dilnara Ripova. She says, I don't know why when I'm thinking about Mexico, I automatically think about tacos. So
it's about food.
Talking about New Mexico.
Right. So it's about food. Yeah, definitely. And what exactly my question was when you talk about food, because Mexican food is very popular and very, very well known and beloved. But what is the main ingredient that actually somebody would relate when they hear Mexican or New Mexican food? I mean, it's very, very similar. I was just wondering what comes to their mind when they think about like Mexican or New Mexican food. Would that be like the chili, like the red chili? Because that's where my direction was going, to point out that actually New Mexico is very, very famous for its green and red chili. The difference between the two is that they eat the green chili when it's like when it's green, they pick it and they eat it fresh. So they use it in soups, they use it in marinades, they use it in stews like fajitas. And the red chili they harvest it when the green just becomes red on the stem. That one has to be made into powder and then used like chili powder and then used in food. And the chili, I have to mention that it's not only for food, but it's also, I keep talking about food, but I'm not showing the food. So this is a Mexican dish. This is another Mexican dish, burritos. So I'm mentioning chili is not only for food, but it's also for decoration. And let me just put it to full screen. So definitely it's used for decoration. And just as pomegranates are considered the symbol of wealth, health, welcome in Central Asia, the chili pepper, the red chili pepper, is considered also the symbol for health, to be welcomed, and for wealth. And usually, as you can see, they make these chains of the red chili peppers. It started out not just purely as decoration, but also this is the way they actually dry their chili peppers. They attach it to like gates, roofs, to keep it away from rodents like mice and rats and bugs. So here's another, and this actually, the way they are chained, they are called riestra. So chili riestra. And there are lots and lots of markets, that sell. They are super, super popular. So people use it, as I said, in foods and as decoration. Yeah. And another thing I want to mention, the chili pepper for, what else can it be used as decoration? It can be used as decoration for Christmas. It's the perfect decoration for Christmas. It's red and it has a little green stem. And with a white candle, it's perfect. It's perfect for the red, white, and green color combination. And I can show you a few more. It does snow in Santa Fe and northern part of New Mexico. So a little snow on the chili riestras, it's even more attractive. Merry Christmas from Santa Fe. Or they can make it into a Christmas tree. Yes. And as you see, New Mexicans, actually, most of them, as you know, US is a very free country. Religions are accepted. There's acceptance of all religions. And we are talking about Christmas holiday, Christmas traditions, so which is a Christian religion. And it's very, very celebrated. So definitely the Christmas is well celebrated in New Mexico. And the main reason for that is because majority of the population of New Mexico is made up of Hispanics, which are descendants of Spanish or Mexicans, because it used to be Spanish and Mexico, a territory of Mexico, and Anglos, which are the Caucasians, the whites, and also the Native Americans, which are the Indians. And you would think that why would the Native Americans celebrate actually Christmas? Well, the missionaries in the starting from the 1500s, they, that they went to the US and they were doing their job, being on a mission to make the Indians, to become Christians. and they succeeded. So actually, most of the Native Americans are now Christians, and they celebrate, actually Catholic Christians, and they celebrate Christmas just as the Hispanics, the Latino community, and the Anglos. And they also use like chili, but there is something else. I'm so focused on New Mexico, so like what I saw, that I forget to scroll through the pictures. I apologize. So here is a Native American girl in full costume, Native American costume, and this is a Native American guy doing some ritual dances. And I do need to mention that besides the Native Americans becoming Catholic Christians, they also do keep, they did keep their tribal traditions. So actually the dancing, what you see in many pictures or videos, or if you see them in person, those are not just dances, but they are also rituals for religion. And many of them are actually prayers. Instead of kneeling and putting their hands together, they celebrate their divinity by dancing for the divinity and singing. And here is the Hispanic culture present in New Mexico. Very colorful, which brings so much joy and color to the state. And something even more exciting for me, which I actually saw, and it really warms my heart, is this decoration. And all the ethnic groups, actually, the Hispanics, the Caucasians, and the Native Americans love to decorate with this kind of brown sandbags, which there is a little candle in it and like a handful of sand, and just in a plain brown bag, a paper brown bag. And this also goes back to the tradition from the missionaries that they used to have, like, and they still do actually very much, they have this celebration called, on Christmas Eve, they have Los Posadas, which is like a nativity scene performance, which includes like Virgin Mary, Saint Joseph, and baby Jesus. And they say they put the little candles to show the way home for baby Jesus to the church. And actually these candles, these bags, are called luminarias in Spanish, or farolitos, which means little lights. So I'm going to show you some of these, more of these. So all New Mexico, wherever you go, to the city or to the villages, you see this. And it started originally, just from the church, like to have it around the church and on the street next to the church. But then they started just decorating the streets in the cities or villages. They decorated like rooftops, windows, and it's just absolutely fantastic. It's that atmosphere that gives you the light. It's just around Christmas, it just warms your heart. This is actually traditional New Mexican housing, which is called adobe. It's adobe style. It's a type of mud that it's excellent for the New Mexican weather because it keeps the heat inside the house And it keeps the house cool at the same time in summer, during summer. And the summers can get really hot, even in the mountains. So this is another picture, and it even shows the Zia sign made out of farolitos in the churchyard. More rooftop. So this is the typical adobe, and during Christmas, definitely you can see the festive chili-riestras and the luminarias or farolitos, as I said, the Zia sign, and of course the cactus. They decorate, you work with what you have. So let me go back to, this is the next scene. So I wanted to mention, before the adobe, before the Native Americans, the Indians, they started making the adobes, they made their dwellings, housing in caves. About when you hear about Native Americans, it's mostly you imagine, they all live in teepees. Well, not really. The teepees are for the middle of the country, Midwest, where there is like lots of fields and they are nomadic. They were chasing and hunting the bulls. But in the Southwest, where you have the Rocky Mountains, there are no fields. So what people did, they started, making their homes into caves. And as you can see, those holes used to have like wooden poles to build. These are like apartments because they made them multi-story tall. So for example, the one in the picture has like three-story, and you see that there is some smoke inside because they had to keep it warm. And to access the higher levels, they just used the ladder. And what's so special about these are still, these are actual photos. And I have been to one in New Mexico, the most popular. It's called Bandelier National Monument, and these photos were taken there. And going back to more adobe and Santa Fe. Santa Fe, the old town, is definitely it's still made of adobe. And any new buildings they build, it has regulations. So it has to be made of adobe, like that kind of light brown mud. And also it cannot be very high. It cannot be more than like 2-story high. And it has to be in the old traditional way. And as you can see, the wooden poles or rods are there. So this is how they put also they used in the caves to support the upper floor. So let me see. Let me get back to the list of my pictures and see. This is Santa Fe during Christmas. This is a typical church in the suburbs. This is not Santa Fe. This is a church. It's very special. It's called Loreto. And it says the name for it is the Miraculous Staircase. I don't know how they made these stairs, but it's very miraculous the way they built it. So it's very special. Just a few more pictures about the cave homes. So from an upper view, a few more from Bandelier, and just one more to show. So these were like apartment complexes. They were very tight-knit, like very close to each other. And usually the round places, I don't know why, this one has so many, but like so many round spaces. But those used to be like the churches for the Indians. So that's where the men used to do their religious rituals. And I don't know if you can see, but it used to be just like a tiny, like a window, like, or a tiny door on the rooftop of these round spaces, where they descended on a ladder. It was just one room. So the men descended into the room through a ladder, and they smoked their pipes. They did some dancing. Maybe they had some visual hallucinations. And then they came out again, of course, the same way through the ladder. But it was they said that it was supposed to be a new rebirth. So after every religious ritual, getting out, they were reborn. There's one more thing I want to mention, and that is, I wonder if anybody would recognize this painting, or this one, or this one. And I'm going to put it to full screen. So I wonder if anybody recognizes her. I'm giving it away. It's a her. And she moved to New Mexico in particular to this place called Ghost Ranch, which is an absolutely amazing place. It's like it is surrounded by mesas, and it has the most beautiful sky. And she decided to live the rest of her life there, which extended for many, many decades. And she lived there with her photographer husband, Albert Stiglitz. And she is very well known about her paintings about flowers. In particular, it's like very sensual painting of the flowers, like macro picture painting taken of the flower. Well, if I'm not getting any answers here, I'm going to give her name away. She is Georgia O'Keeffe. I call her Georgia O'Keeffe, but I think my husband says that she's Georgia O'Keeffe. And she absolutely fell in love with New Mexico. And this is Ghost Ranch. This is the house where she lived, and that was her view every day. You cannot blame her for moving there, right? So when people talk about, how do I get back? So when people talk about art, definitely Georgia O'Keeffe is the person who comes come first to everybody's mind. This can be also attributed to her because she used to paint and draw lots of skulls, animal skulls, bisons or bulls, especially the white bull in the New Mexico region. And she was just fascinated by their bones and skulls. So that's very special for New Mexico and for Georgia O'Keeffe. And of course, the chili riestra. So just wrapping it up about Christmas traditions in New Mexico. Christmas is well celebrated by having 3 wonderful major ethnic groups. There are also other minorities, but each culture adding their own special touch, traditions, to Christmas. I'm trying to find a nice Christmas picture, which I already showed, but let's just stay with this. So a beautiful mixture of three major cultures that celebrate Christmas in New Mexico. And there is a midnight mass on Christmas Eve, and families, people, go to the church at midnight, and the streets, the city is lit and warmed at the heart by farolitos and luminarias. And as I mentioned, Los Posadas, the nativity, the Bethlehem scenes is performed on Christmas Eve. And actually even it used to be like the whole week before Christmas, the week leading to Christmas. And the beautiful Christmas, like chili ristras decorations. And the rest is just what we know. Christmas trees, gifts, lots of good food, including chili, red chili, and not just for decoration, as I said. So that wraps up my presentation. And I'm waiting for the questions.
Thank you so much, Andrea. That was so interesting. New Mexico is fascinating.
Thank you. Actually, it's one of my very, very favorite places in the US. And I have to tell that I traveled through the US from west to east and from coast to coast. And I loved many, many places. I have many, many favorites, but this one is the most favorite place. Of course, yeah. I lived there for 2 years. My husband is from New Mexico. And we do go there. My in-laws live there. So we do go there for the holidays and as often as we can.
That's great. I want to remind everyone who are watching us, don't miss your chance to ask your question about New Mexico from an expert. And we do have a couple of questions.
Right.
So the first question is from Nurhan Ismailova. She's asking, she says country, but I think she means New Mexico. Is it also famous for its film industry?
Actually, yes. Actually, very much. I cannot quote exact details, but a lot of cowboy and wild west movies, like Western movies, were filmed there. And the props, the location with the log houses, you can still find them there. And we did. Actually, we just checked them out, and it's free to the visitors. Yes, many. And also, as I wanted to mention, New Mexico has also a little bit of weirdness, and that is Roswell. I don't know if you know about that, but they say that in 1947, like a UFO landed there, which I don't think so. But it made it for really good business for the town. Roswell is like, I drove through, it's creepy. It's like everywhere you look, it's just little green Martian doors everywhere. So they took a really good advantage of this UFO rumor. So yeah.
And we actually had a question from Davron Akamov, who asked, what do you think about accident with UFO near Roswell?
So I said my opinion. I do not believe in it, but nobody told me, nobody showed me anything. So it still might be true. Who knows? I don't know. But yeah. So keep your eyes peeled, keep your eyes open and your ears to see who knows what might happen. Maybe Men in Black might be a true story. So
yeah. Another question from Nurhan Ismail. She's asking, is the sky always dark blue?
It is, of course. There are some storms, but even it's more dramatic. So when there are storms, it's absolutely the most beautiful blue sky I've ever seen. And because it's dry, it's very dry, and there is no humidity blocking the view and whatever it's above, which is, you know, the galaxy and all that. And yeah, so nothing is blocking. And the contrast between that gorgeous blue sky and the white puffy clouds is just absolutely fantastic. And in the mountains, so it's dry. It's just an arid, it's just a dry state. And it's just because of the elevation. You have the desert, the dry desert in the southern half, and you have the mountain desert, the high desert in the upper part, like northern part, where the mountains are. So you can find the most beautiful skies no matter where you go. And definitely they are just that blue.
Since we talked about Mexican food and someone mentioned tacos, so we have a question. What is taco? Can you tell us what it is? Because we don't have it in Uzbekistan.
Well, yes, maybe next time I should make taco, because we make it almost once a week for sure. My kids love taco. So actually, first of all, you start with a shell. Well, we buy the shell, which is made of like corn. It's like dry corn, made into a paste and then fried, and then kind of shaped like a U shape. And then you make separately from ground beef, cumin, very important. The most important seasoning in New Mexican and Mexican food is cumin. And then so the shell, you put the ground beef with the seasoning. Then you add cheddar cheese, like that orange cheese. And then just chopped tomatoes. I think we skipped the lettuce, but you should put lettuce too, like shredded lettuce, and then sour cream. And that's it. You just eat it. It's my son's favorite. So yeah, it's great. It's delicious.
Thank you. So question is it symbol of New Mexico? I think
No.
no. The chili. I think it was during when you were talking about the chili riestra. Is it New Mexican symbol?
It is. It can be said, yes, because chili is definitely related to New Mexico. Like when you mention chili, people immediately think of New Mexico. Texas also. They even have like this combo, like it's called food combo, like Tex-Mex, which is like kind of a Mexican food. And definitely they use chili in the Tex-Mex food as well. If I wouldn't have mentioned this, my Texan friends would hate me for sure. But that's true. There is Tex-Mex food, and so the chili southwest, but definitely New Mexico. Yeah, especially there is the green hatch chili, which is definitely New Mexico, which is not very spicy, which I like. I don't eat spicy, but I do have at home always green hatch chili. So,
All right. What is your favorite place to visit in Mexico?
Santa Fe.
Is there anything special you do there?
What do I do there? I go immediately to Old Town, and I just love to look at the adobe buildings. And they have like bazaars, like always, they used to, and hopefully they will, all year around, like jewelry and pottery. It's very, very famous, the New Mexican pottery. I'm planning to have another chai chat just related to New Mexican art. And they have like this beautiful black pottery. And I also showed just one. I didn't want to, on purpose, I didn't choose too many pottery pictures. Well, I will find it. Sorry. So the pottery, definitely. So they sell. It's very tourist-oriented city, and they have churches. And let me just. So this is New Mexico, and they do actually. You do see a lot of blue doors. That is symbolic, just to keep the bad things away. So it might be the same. What here I see that blue. I don't know if it has a name. The circle, with the blue.
Mm-hmm.
And what else I want to show about? Yeah, here's the pottery. And I love turquoise. This is not made of turquoise, this pot. But for jewelry, the turquoise is super, super popular. I think New Mexico just has a natural resource of turquoise, like and semi-precious stones. And this is a bear claw. What you see on this pottery is the symbol of a bear, which means strength and protection. And I had another picture here, but I thought Santa Fe. I guess not. So yeah, definitely the old town with the adobe buildings where they sell pottery and jewelry, and the old town is just buzzing with tourists. There are lots of cafes, which I love, and lots of restaurants. And we, of course, have our favorite restaurant, which is called Blue Corn Cafe. And blue corn is a very special corn. It really is blue. And they actually make the chips out of, I don't know if I put, see the blue chips on the plate?
Why is it blue?
It's blue because the corn is blue. They have a very special corn in New Mexico that is actually not yellow, but it's blue. And it's edible even. So, yeah.
That's interesting.
So, yeah, I just love going there for the reasons I mentioned. Mm-hmm. So definitely you can see, so adobe, chili, and the blue doors, they kind of just go together. It's just everywhere. Yeah.
Those papers are so beautiful.
I know.
The
right. Especially I'm Hungarian, so we also have our own kind of paprika. So for me, paprika is like special, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have one more question.
All right.
Who is the most famous person from New Mexico?
Okay, let's see. I didn't research this, so but if anybody watched Game of Thrones, George R.R. Martin, he bought a land in Santa Fe, and he loves New Mexico. So New Mexico is famous now for him as well. And even going further, he made this amazing place that's called Meow Wolf. I'm not kidding. This is the name, Meow Wolf, because he said everybody should just send in names. How should they name this like super fictional, unrealistic place? And next time Chai Chat, if we're going to arts, it's just surreal. It's like totally a surreal place, which actually has like a sci-fi story going on. It's just fantastic. So they decided about the name. So everybody who sent in names, they just put everything in a hat, and then they pick two names. Whatever those two names will be, that will be the name of this place, of this building. And it was Meow and Wolf. So look that up. It's super, super popular, Meow Wolf. Shirley MacLaine also has some real estate in Santa Fe. Who else? Maria Gonzalez is the Native American lady who actually reinvented, so brought back to life, the black clay pottery, which is absolutely phenomenal. Who else? I'm sure I'm missing somebody. Well, Georgia O'Keeffe, of course, for me. Yeah.
Also, Google says that Demi Moore is from New Mexico.
Oh, that's true. That's true. She comes from a teeny tiny village in the south. Yeah, that is not a very fabulous place. I wouldn't say that, but definitely she comes from there. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. We're moving back to food, and there is a question from Davrona Kramov. He's asking, "Do you cook goulash?"
Oh, okay. We should have a chai chat about Hungarian topic. Why not? I do. And actually, Hungarian goulash, the Hungarian pronunciation, the Hungarian goulash, it's a soup. We do have the same dish what people think that it's called goulash, but the stew, but that is called paprikás or pörkölt. So I do. That's another favorite here at my house. So, but it's a stew. It has potatoes. It has beef because that's where it gets the name from. It's about like cowboys used to take care of the cows on the hills and fields, actually mostly on the fields in Hungary and that region. And whenever they got hungry, they just had some extra beef always on the hands, of course, and they just made a soup. And it's called bograch. It's like a giant, like a cauldron pot, and it's on like I would assume some wooden poles, with fire underneath. And they were just kind of cooking the soup. So beef, potatoes, carrots, paprika, and onions, but just for the flavor, the onion. So that gets tossed. So yeah,
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. So we have a question asking, are there any interesting facts about New Mexico?
Let me think.
There is
Roswell. That's the creepy part. Go ahead, Gulshan.
No, I just saw that dancing while wearing your sombrero is illegal in New Mexico. Is that true? Have you ever heard about like some weird things like that?
No, but I know there is a list. If you Google, there is a list of weird rules based on each state. It's like, I don't know, on Tuesday you shouldn't buy bed sheets or something. I know there is a list, and there is something for New Mexico, but what is that? It might be you cannot dance with a sombrero. It might be offensive.
Let's ask everyone, if you find some interesting fact, please put it in the comment under this video so that people could learn about it.
Sure. I will be thinking about that and doing some research.
And if our visitors see something interesting, they can put it here too.
Oh, that would be lovely, actually. Any information or any experience you have connected to New Mexico, I would love to hear, for sure.
Thank you. Question about Budapest. Is it a beautiful city?
Yes, it is. I'm not from Budapest. As I mentioned, I'm from Transylvania, from the other side of the border, which now is part of Romania. And but I've been to Budapest many, many times, and that is my other favorite city, for sure. Yeah, very much.
What is your second favorite state in the United States after New Mexico?
Well, it's not a state. It's Washington, D.C. And that is the home That is the second home, I would say, or now primary home. That's where we always go between countries. And it's just amazing because it has the best museums for free. The Smithsonian's are free. Of course, there are lots of excellent museums like the MoMA in New York. It cannot be compared to MoMA, but Smithsonian's are just absolutely excellent. And there is a museum, a Smithsonian, and it's fairly new, and it's about Native Americans. And if you have a chance to go, like Indians, American Indians, and if you have a chance to go to DC, definitely go and visit the Native American Museum. It's fantastic. Lots of history, sad history. I didn't want to talk about the sad part. I just wanted to talk about the beauty of Christmas in New Mexico and the beauty of multicultural population and traditions. So I chose to do that. And the food, delicious food, the beauty of the landscapes, the mountains. So, yeah. One more thing about the Indians, don't know if anybody cares, but so they are Christians now. But as I mentioned, they also keep their some of their rituals, some of their old religion. And you might not know, but they actually got into like casinos. They have their own casinos because they got some kind of mini autonomy on their land. And because the school and the healthcare was below standard, they had to find a way, to be able to provide education and healthcare for their population. So they have casinos, lots of casinos. Which gambling is not allowed in the US, but it's allowed on Indian land.
So everyone who wants to gamble, they can just go there. Is it in New Mexico, or is it everywhere around the US?
Anywhere where there is Indian land and they were able to build. There is one more place, I just don't remember, that's like on a river. And there are some casinos, but in the Southwest, definitely, like in New Mexico, like even within like 100-mile radius, like there are tons of casinos. I went there just to eat. So excellent food. So
that's interesting. Yeah. That's amazing. It's so many interesting things, and we've learned so much about New Mexico and the US in general, and it was wonderful. Thanks so much, Andrea.
My pleasure. Absolutely my pleasure.
Unfortunately, it's already time to wrap up, but we really hope that we're going to see you again and you'll do another, maybe a couple of chats, sharing your insights and sharing American culture with us.
I would love to. And thank you for inviting me back.
Thank you for taking the time. It was very, very interesting. Have a wonderful weekend. And also, I want to thank everyone for wonderful questions. Please join us next Friday as we're going to talk about the volunteerism in the United States with Christopher Herrera, U.S. Marine Sergeant. So please join us. And Andrea, thanks so much. And we'll see you again.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye, everybody. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.